Guys and gals, we are back out here at Jmills Tuning. This is Brandon with Motor Nubs, and here is my, oh, he started up. That is my budget turbo Integra. It's changed a lot in the last year, for sure. Just to go over it for everybody that's new to the channel, it's on its third motor now, and I'm not going to blame it on the Integra at all. I'm going to blame it on user error on my end. I ended up, I cracked a sleeve on one motor, I blew a head gasket and ran it hot on another, and now this is the third motor. It's got a used bottom end with forged pistons, forged rods. It's got a stock head with aftermarket turbo cams. It is turboed. It's got an eBay turbo kind of setup, stock intake manifold. We're looking to do some boost on it. Has a 4-bar map, and that's about it. That's the magic. Stock transmission. So just stay tuned. He's gonna warm it up here and start doing some pulls and see how it's gonna do. So cross your fingers for me, guys. Alright, so as usual, I'm just sitting here waiting on the car to get tuned. He's just doing a little bit of idle adjustment and some very basic things to start it off. It is hot in here. He's got a thermometer over there and it's showing it at 101 degrees. So North Carolina summer in full effect. He said he's not going to be pushing it for any real high horsepower. He's going to, you know, once the temperature rolls off and we come back, it could easily make more power, but I do want to get a good tune on it, and I'm personally hoping for like 350 range. Even in this temperature, I think I could get 350 range. Yeah, but I've done this so many times, like sitting here waiting on my car, and I still get nervous like every time that, you know, is it gonna blow up? Is it gonna do this? Is it gonna do that? And it's not like it's not my first rodeo by any means, but all you guys out there that have been to a dyno and have your car on a dyno, you know what I'm talking about. Having somebody in there and, you know, going all the way to red line and getting it tuned, it's a little nerve-wracking to say the least. So yeah. Let's get this show on the road. So it ended up doing right at, if I can get it to zoom in there, 238 horsepower and 199 torque, right at 7 psi. It's super rich, so he said it'll definitely pick up some power from taking some fuel out of it. And we're also just strapped on a, see that little guy right there? We put a boost controller on it and we're turning the boost up, because I do have a 4-bar map sensor, so we can crank it up. I'm thinking somewhere maybe high teens, mid to high teens, 14, 15, 16 psi. We'll see where we're at. So, yep, all good so far. Just added inside of it. Yeah, as usual, both boost controllers we tried are no bueno, no good. They're old, used junk, but an extra spring should do the trick.
Yeah, we'll see what that does.
Dealing with a little bit of restriction issues. It looks like 326.9 on the horsepower and 252 on the torque is going to be all that it's going to be today. And how much boost was that?
That was 19 falling down to 15.
19 falling down to 15. Possible restriction on the intake side?
Yep. Yep. She don't like more boost.
Potentially intercooler piping, because I know on one side of the intercooler it's got like the 2-inch piping and then it goes to 2.5. maybe intake, maybe those cams. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I say. I'm not used to running into restriction issues. Normally we make like mid 300s on these motors, no problem.
Yeah, you can see where the boost is it comes on and then falls off. That couldn't be a turbo issue, could it? Maybe.
It's a possibility.
Maybe for next time around I change all that and then see what it does.
Once you get past 15 PSI is when it starts acting up.
Yeah. Well, we'll turn it back down to 15 PSI for now and play with it on the street until I change everything out. All right, guys and gals. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I really appreciate you watching the videos and stuff. It looks like there's been a fair amount of people emailing me wanting to see an update on the Integra. And don't get me wrong, like I've been kind of sleeping on this car lately just because literally it's been a nightmare trying to get it running and keep it running. But you know, it's got a lot to do with me too. Like I've been nothing but balls to the wall hard on this thing, and so that's when we were tuning it and it was hitting that point like around 15 psi. It was like laboring and did not act like it wanted to make more power. So the things that I'm looking at changing out, we lowered it back down to 15 from 20, because when you go from 15 to 20 psi and you don't really pick up any horsepower because it peaks and then falls back off, there's something wrong there. But at 15 it peaks and then holds boost. So I had already swapped out the wastegate. I haven't swapped out the blow-off valve, but we did put a glove over it and test to see if it was actually leaking while it was doing a pull. It wasn't leaking while it was doing a pull, so that, you know, it wasn't like a blow-off valve leaking off boost. James seems to think it was like a restriction, and going back and thinking, I don't know if I said it earlier in the video, but I have 2-inch intercooler piping on my hot side of my intercooler, and then I have 2.5-inch on the cold side. So I think I want to update my intercooler piping to 2.5-inch on both sides, and then really I think it's time to probably get away from this turbo. This is that Amazon like $150 turbo that I bought quite a while ago, and it's a journal bearing, and it's a little big for a 1.8 non-VTEC motor. If you can't tell, it takes a while for that thing to spool up, and I think it's time to really go to a ball bearing style turbo. That way it can spool up a little bit faster and get into boost and get into power a lot faster. So James said I should not be restricted on the intake side with the intake manifold, because he has had LS cars in there, you know, break into the 400s. That's not really the issue. But do you guys think I should put an intake manifold on it while I'm here? A throttle body? Should I do some little supporting modifications in the meantime? So there was a couple other little things that needed to be fixed on the car that have nothing to do with the actual mechanical ability of it. They were drivability issues. I want to get those resolved, and then maybe start accumulating some parts and start getting it ready for 400 plus. So if you didn't already know, it's got Aries pistons in it. It's got H-beam rods. I don't know what brand they are, but they are H-beams. It's got a block guard pressed in, so it's just stock sleeves with a block guard. It's a stock crank. It's got the Stage 2 Crower aftermarket turbo cams in it, which James said, I wasn't impressed with them, because he was like, you could tell me these cams are stock and I would believe you. And I'm like, it's surprising. We even double checked the timing a couple times, and the turbo cams really don't seem to really wake it up any more than like a stock cam would. And these are supposed to be like Stage 2, so we don't know if it's maybe the restriction on the intake side is really starving the cams. We just don't know. So definitely updating that intercooler piping. He was asking me about the intercooler, and it's the CX Racing, the big, it's not the tube and fin, it's the bar and plate style. So that really shouldn't have any restriction. That was the one I put on after I had an eBay one on there, and I literally picked up like 50 horsepower on the old motor setup from just swapping the intercooler. So I think I'm good on the intercooler. I think I'm just I got a little garden hose for intercooler piping. I need to open that intercooler piping up and potentially do a throttle body, intake manifold, and turbo. I think exhaust manifold, turbo, piping. I think that's what it's gonna take to really make her alive. Instead of just pushing it and potentially breaking it again, because I really don't want to just break it again. You know, I may be saying this now and it might be blown up in the next video, but I'm too good at breaking it, if you know what I mean. So my cat's in the background over there. Say hi to that's Bat Cat. But guys, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully got some more videos coming up here soon. I want to get a ride along. I want my brother to drive it now that he does not have his car anymore. I want him to feel mine and be jealous that I still have mine and he doesn't. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Please leave a comment down below if you have any other suggestions. I'd love to hear them. So yeah. Oh, and also, I do know that James kept telling me the heat. It was like every bit of right under 100 degrees and pretty heavy humidity. So I do know that once it cools off, even in a 50-60 degree day, it should pull, another 15 to 20 horsepower. And if it was like, boost weather where it was like super like ice cold outside, 10-20 degrees, I mean, she'd pick up like 30, potentially maybe even 40 horsepower, which definitely would pump it up. But always got to look for the next things. And obviously, people have already asked me, what am I doing about my fender and my bumper and stuff? I am going to get me a one of those little pre-made fenders. I'm going to do the bumper swap to a 97, which means I'm also going to get new headlights. And then I'll drop it off just to get a quick respray at the place that did my Mustang. They do a good job for a little bit of money. Wheels and tires, all the tires are trash on it. So a friend of mine, Scott, the guy with the Turbo Civic, has actually got a set of wheels for me. I'm going to throw those on for the time being and see how they do. But I don't know. I guess it really depends on how long the car lasts. The longer it lasts, the more I'll keep dumping money into it. And I won't have to worry about another motor. So, all right, guys, I need to get off here before I keep on ranting. It's good to be back. It's good to be back to the car side of YouTube. So I'll see you later. Have a good one. Adios.